time again, lucky listener. You have found NH Unscripted, and you are the air that I breathe, and that makes me your Holly's-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, baby, got my Nehru jacket on, my bell-bottom pants, my platform shoes. Yeah, we are coming to you from the YMCA-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Break out those Sony Walkmans, your transistor radios. Turn it on over to the AM side where you'll find us at 1450, then 103.9 FM. Those are Concord-based, and for the beautiful souls in Manchester, you will hear us on 101.9 FM. And yes, we have a URL because it's where all the cool kids hang out. NHTalkRadio.com is the URL. I'll give you a little bit more information about what's going on out there in just a second. I need to thank my sponsor, Lakes Region Fence. LRFence.com is their URL. LRFence.com, that's their URL. They happen to be a full-service fence company, which we really, they're more than that. They're good friends of ours. And they're located up in the Lakes region. They are an installer of all types of fencing. You hear me? Get rid of that piece of junk that's on your pool, practically caving in, going to kill the kids. Or that property line thing that looks like a World War II memorial. Get rid of it. They do everything. Tennis courts, basketball courts, sports courts. You get pickleball, you into pickleball. Everybody's into pickleball nowadays. Get a fence for your pickleball court. They do property line, commercial line. LRFence.com is their URL. They are a forward-thinking company up in Lakes region, constantly working to increase their work sphere, whatever that means. That's marketing for you right there, baby. LRFence.com, we appreciate them. Lakes Region Fence up in Guilford. They do exemplary work. Go out to their website. There are reams and reams and reams and reams and reams of photos of all their good work. Today, we have a guest on the line who I've been trying to get for a little while now, playing kind of email tag. We're going to be talking marketing today with Joe Walker. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am well. Always glad to be out of bed. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
Yeah. Joe, why don't you, before we go too far, let's get some of your basic information out. Why don't you give us your URL and some contact information?
So, JoeWalkerMarketing.com is the website.
Okay.
Info at JoeWalkerMarketing.com is the email.
Okay.
And then phone number 603-731-0693.
Perfect. Thank you, my friend. Now, let's get into marketing. And specifically, why did you get into marketing?
All right. So I come out of education. I taught for roughly 20 years, both high school and college. So I was teaching marketing courses, entrepreneurship courses. Just in 2017, made the transition out of education and got into the quote-unquote real-world side of marketing, right? Taking all the stuff I was learning in the books and putting it into the real world.
So why? Did you see that there was like a gap that wasn't being filled? Aren't there enough marketing companies? What did you find out?
All right, so yeah, it's a huge gap. So the education courses, the courses I was teaching at the college level, the entrepreneurship and the marketing courses, right in Chapter 1, it always talks about business plans. And there's a statistic in the book that always stuck with me, how about roughly 90% of businesses in the U.S. are currently operating without a business plan.
Yeah.
That is a stat that always kind of stuck with me. But then if you flip it the other way, if you're going to a bank or so traditional lending, which is a bank, or non-traditional angel investors, even going to friends and family, those kinds of places, roughly 90% of the time, they ask for a business plan as part of the application process because they want to make sure that the business makes sense and it's viable, and they want to make sure that you've put some thought behind it.
Yep.
Massive disconnect there, right? Where roughly 90% don't have a plan, but yet roughly 90% of the time they're asked for it.
You think there's some correlation there?
Yeah, right. So then it boils down to, does the business owner A, know how to write a business plan, B, have the time to write a business plan, or C, all the above, right? So that's where I thought there was a gap or a void I could fill. So I started in 2017, I started developing business plans for clients and helping them, if needed, get in front of the money.
So you would literally help them write them?
Yes, I actually do write them.
You do?
So I have a team that works behind me now. I actually have writers. I've scaled to a point where I have people working behind me. So I have my writers working behind me doing the writing, and usually while they're doing the writing, I'm still doing the editing and the proofing and that kind of stuff. But while they're doing the developing of the plan, I'm helping the business owner, hopefully, if needed, get in front of the money. So that way, as soon as the plan is done, we're ready to present.
So I have a list of your services here, and since business plans is one of the first ones that pop up, let's park there for a second. So How long does it take to actually create a plan?
That's usually it's a question I'm asked all the time by potential clients, and I always say, you tell me. Work happens, vacations happen, sick days happen, all that other kind of stuff. But a fully developed business plan is usually between 30 and 40 pages when you include all the appendices and all those sections.
30 to 40 pages?
Yep. It takes a good 30, 40, 50 hours to write. But again, it's a lot of start stops, right? So we do a section. We don't want to go write a 30-page document and then say, here you go. So we do it in sections. So we'll write a couple sections. We'll hand it off to the business owner to read, edit, proof, give some feedback. If they're on vacation or if they take a couple days to get back to us, obviously we're not going to continue writing while we're waiting to hear back from them. So there are some start stops in there. But if I have a highly focused business owner that is really focused on getting the plan done, we can usually get it done in 30 to 45 days.
So when you look at a business plan, you said it's done in sections. Are there some sections which actually take more precedence over others that are more important that, the bank or the lender or the angel investors are going to be looking for?
Yep. So kind of going back into what I was saying earlier with my education, like background in education, I always used to tell the students on the first day, anything in a business plan, the first two sections any bank is going to look at is the executive summary and the financial. If the executive summary doesn't make sense, they're not going to read the entire plan. And if the financials, the money doesn't make sense, because that's what the bank is interested in, is the money.
Yeah.
They're not going to read the entire plan. They're not going to waste their time reading 30 pages if the plan doesn't make sense and the money doesn't make sense. And the students always used to ask, well, why don't we just write the executive summary? And the way I used to try to explain it to my students was the executive summary is like the commercial to the movie. You can't make the commercial until you've actually filmed the movie. So you got to write the whole plan, pull that information out to write that 1 to 2 page executive summary to present to the bank to make them want to go see the movie.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you have a number like for success ratios, for people who don't or maybe write their own as opposed to when your team writes them?
So I can't guarantee they get the funding for various reasons, right? I'm not the bank. I'm not the final decision maker.
Right.
But I do have a pretty high success rate of getting them the funding. Now, there's a couple of variables that I can't control. It doesn't matter how good the plan is and how good the business concept is. If your credit score is 520, I can't fix 520.
Right,
and banks are still going to be leery of 520.
Yeah.
But if you have a decent credit score and you have some equity to put behind it, there's a pretty high success rate out there in terms of being able to find places to get the money. Flipping it the other way, the other part of your question that you asked, if you don't have a business plan, again, roughly 90% of the time they ask for it. So if you don't have a business plan and if the business owner's putting it together, if they don't know exactly what they're doing, if they're just trying to use AI or Google, there's probably going to be pieces missing.
Yeah. Are there people who don't need a business plan? I can't imagine there would be, but I guess maybe if they're self-funded or whatever. But are there people who you look at it and you go, you know what, your business? Sorry, you don't need a business plan.
Right. So, good question. So, from my side of it, I think every business should have a plan, but I'm strategic by nature, and that's just the way I think. But the ones who probably would come to me or at the end of me talking with them and say, yeah, I don't think I need you, is the guy who's been an electrician for over 20 years. He at the end of each year, he can on a napkin in the bar, he can write down his financials for next year and probably be pretty close because he's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't necessarily need me because he has a pretty good idea of what he's doing and where he's going. and on the other side of that, and again, he probably doesn't need funding either because he's been self-funded for so many years. But and the other part of that too is he's probably that 10% that doesn't need a plan because if his van blows up or he needs something quick cash. He probably has such a good relationship with the bank that when he walks in there and says, "Hey, I need $50,000 for a van."
Hang on, Joe. Hang on.
Yep.
We got to take a break. Folks, you are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your happy to be out of bed host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you 1450 AM 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. We are talking with Joe Walker, talking all about marketing. I got a lot more questions. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where I know you're hooked on a feeling, and that makes me your BJ Thomas-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, coming to you from the Gong Show-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. You are listening to us on either 1450 AM 103.9 FM. Yeah, that's Concord. 101.9 FM for the beautiful folks in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com. Well, maybe you push the button out there and listening to us live. Who knows? But that's our URL. Joe Walker from Joe Walker Marketing is on the phone with me, and we are talking business plans. Joe, what did you tell me were the 4 basic points that you need to get across in your business plan?
Yep. So, again, go back to the education, right? Any marketing class you teach, the 4 P's of marketing is what all marketing is, the foundation. Product, place, price, promotion. Everything in marketing comes back to those 4 things. And those 4 pieces are addressed in the business plan, which helps you develop your unique value proposition, which, gives you kind of that North Star in terms of like what you should be doing for your business. And again, even businesses that don't need funding, that's why I think there's value in having a business plan, is because the plan helps you figure out those 4 P's and make sure those 4 P's are all in alignment.
Of those 4 P's, are there one that stands out to you that most people fail on almost all the time? They just don't address it.
For small business owners, 100%. It's usually pricing.
Really?
Usually small business owners undervalue their services.
Really?
Yes. They discount to try to make the sale. They discount because they're trying to do a favor. You just don't see the value in what they're doing themselves.
So does your team help them with that, figure out their pricing?
Yep, because again, part of a business plan is looking at competitive analysis, so looking at the competitors around you. So part of what my team is doing is looking at competitors in the area and in the industry, and then we can come back to the client and say, hey, you're charging X, but just so you know, the competitors in the area are charging Y.
Do they ever get shocked when you say that?
100%.
I mean, some of that, it could be by a lot, right?
It usually is. And usually it's, well, I'm not as experienced or I'm just trying to get clients. So, they start immediately put the barriers up as to why they are trying to charge less. And I'm like, you're leaving money on the table.
On the table is right. And that's the whole reason they're in business.
Exactly.
Man, oh man. I wanted to just briefly touch on some other things that you had listed on your website.
Yep.
A fractional CEO. Can you explain what that is?
Yep. So what I found was a lot of my clients were, I think I see the value in a business plan. I think I should have one, but I'm never going to be able to implement it. And I'll just use an example like a painter. I'm too busy chasing my guys. I'm too busy trying to get to the next job. I don't actually have the time to grow my business in the back of the house side of it. And I say, okay, well, if we're writing the plan, we know the plan because we wrote it. If you want, we can help you execute the plan to help you scale.
Okay.
What we'll do is while they're out chasing their guys, chasing the next check, growing the business on the production side of it, we can help them the back of the house side of it.
So what does that look like? You're not actually their CEO, right? I mean, how do you...
Nope, they're still writing the checks. So what I'm doing is giving them advice, helping them along the way. I'll just use an example of, okay, we scaled to a point where you need a bookkeeper. I have bookkeepers that I know through networking in different places I've gone. You want me to help you onboard a bookkeeper to help you keep growing this business.
Got you. So years ago, I had heard that entrepreneurs are great at their idea, but they're not so much great at running a business sometimes. They have the product, but they make terrible bosses or terrible accountants or terrible bookkeepers. Is that true?
Sometimes, obviously it's a mixed bag. Some entrepreneurs are great business owners, but usually the running of the business is not why they got into it. It's usually because of the passion of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's like not their lane, right? I mean,
exactly, and they become, for lack of a better word, I guess, miserable doing it because it's not where their passion is. It's not why they started out.
Yeah. So the guy who invented the widget, he wants to make widgets. He wants to see that widget hit the market. But he's not so good at marketing sometimes, correct?
Exactly. And I can use a perfect example of that. Not a client, actually, somebody I know, an engineer. He actually just recently sold his business to his employees. He made it an employee-owned business because he was tired of running the business. But part of the sale agreement was, you guys have to give me a 5-year contract because I'm not ready to retire yet.
Ah, does he become
so now he's an engineer again.
Like a consultant for them, or is he just
somebody I knew through a networking group?
Oh, got you. The marketing plans that you help people establish, I have to assume marketing is extremely important. Besides price, right? You want to make sure you're making your profit margins. But the marketing plan, how does that differ from company to company? What do you guys offer there?
Right. So, again, part of the business plan addresses the 4 Ps. So it does touch on the marketing, but marketing plan is a little bit of a different, much more in depth. So it's figuring out the best way to reach your clients, best way to reach your potential clients, I guess would be the better way of saying it, and engaging them and making sure that you're delivering a product in a place that they can afford or price point, all those things in the 4 Ps. So we help them figure out the best way to reach the clients. Not all customers or not all businesses should be on Facebook. It's not the best way to reach some clients. Others, print advertising still works. Others, radio advertising still works. It depends on the industry and who they are and who they're trying to reach.
So you have a team of people who looks at, let's say, a potential business and then helps them decide where their best demographic might be to hit, whether it's like digital or print, like that?
Yep. Yes. Yep. And, and that's primary target market. Then there's something called secondary target market. Those are the ones you also hope to capture, but they're not your primary focus.
Do you help them with demographic studies and stuff? How do they know who their demographic is, who their actual client is?
So we help them identify that through questions and interviewing them and talking to them and, doing a profile. But usually, unless it's a startup, if they've been around for a little while, they usually have at least a bit of a grasp on who their demographic is or who they're trying to appeal to.
Yeah.
So then we can just take it and hopefully better define it.
So that's a good term. I noticed on your website that you periodically drop the term rebranding, that you help companies rebrand themselves. What does that entail?
Right. So the most expensive thing in marketing is rebranding, even more than branding. So it's important to try to get your message right, but when you are off and you have to rebrand yourself, it could be new uniforms, new logos, new lettering on trucks. It could be, think about what used to be PSNH that is now Eversource, and what that cost them back when they rebranded themselves and changed their name.
Yeah.
Or like where I went to college, which used to be New Hampshire College, and now it's SNHU. I mean, everything from changing the flooring and the gym to uniforms for sports to diplomas to everything.
I wish I had known you years ago, because I had a gourmet applesauce business years ago, and we targeted the gift basket, New Hampshire gift basket, and because it was high end and it was very artisan. Everything was handcrafted, and we went out and had all of our labeling done and security things for the jars. We imported certain jars, and we targeted this gift basket market. And then as time went on, more and more people said, "We love your product, but don't you just have a generic jar? What do we do with these gorgeous jars and everything?" And I said, "Oh, wait." Trader Joe came along and said, "We want your product, but as it is right now, we can't use it." And it meant that we were going to have to rebrand. We kind of missed our target market. All these,
right.
Yeah, and so it was going to cost us a fortune because the cooking process was going to be
money you've already spent branding.
Yes, all of our labeling, all of our stickers, everything, even the product packaging that it came in, all was going to have to be redone, and only because we didn't see that market even out there. We thought there was no way we're going to be in Hannaford's or Shaw's competing with like Mott's or something, but more and more people wanted it. Oh my gosh!
Right.
Hang on, Joe. Oh, baby, we got a hot one today. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I am your host with the bunny slippers on, Ray Dudley. You are listening to us at 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord on your transistor radios, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester, or maybe you took a walk out to nhtalkradio.com. That's our URL where all the cool kids are. We are talking all things marketing with Joe Walker. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. We are your carefree highway. That makes me your Gordon Lightfoot-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the dating game-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester, and nhtalkradio.com is our URL where you can listen to us live. I'll tell you some more about that later. Joe Walker is on the phone with me today, and we are talking all things marketing. Joe, you made a point to me off air about a company can go from local to nationwide or franchising. You guys help them with all of that?
So we don't actually do the franchising, but I do have a relationship with a company that does do that.
Yeah.
So I can make those introductions. Again, my part of it is I have my team behind me developing your plan, and I'm making those introductions, and I'm doing that side of it.
Yeah.
So if part of the discussion is I think I might want to franchise my company,
Yeah.
While my team is developing the plan, I'm getting you in front of the group that does the franchising, that writes the FDDs and does all the trademark checks and all those pieces to it.
There is so much. That's crazy. You must have a huge team.
A few.
Any names you want to drop? You want to say hi to anybody before we go too far?
In terms of my
your team. Yeah.
Oh, so Justin's one of my writers. Then Kyle's one of my writers. He's actually down in Atlanta, Georgia. My daughter, Kaysen, who has her degree in marketing, she's actually one of my writers also. But then I have other independent contractors that I work with also, bookkeepers and SEO people and people from the fractional side of it that I can bring in when I need them.
Yeah. So that's funny you mention that because so you don't have to have a business that's just very local, right? You can reach out. Nowadays, you get the internet. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I have clients in Chicago. I have clients in Virginia. I have clients well outside of New Hampshire.
So how do you, that opens up a whole different can here. That would be, there's local laws and everything that are totally different for, say, Chicago to New Hampshire, right? There's trademarking things and just maybe copyright issues from one state to another? Do they not differ?
So trademark and patent law is U.S. law. So, just using an example, if you become an attorney in family law, you only practice in the state that you pass the bar in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pass the bar for patent law, that's U.S. because U.S. is patent law.
Okay.
I'm not an attorney. I don't have my bar. But I'm just saying, I know people that do that kind of law. So again, if I'm dealing with somebody in Chicago, I actually have patent attorney out of New York I can call.
Okay, that's pretty handy. That's pretty handy. I stopped you. We were talking about rebranding. I get that rebranding stuff, but explain to our audience how you might miss your market. I mean, you think you have a target demographic. How do you miss and have to be rebranded?
So a couple different examples there. So I'll give two. So I have a client that I started working with, developing the plan. He did want a franchise. He does want to go national. It turns out that the brand that he chose and that he registered in the state of New Hampshire, he could not take across the U.S. That forced him to do a rebrand.
Because the name was taken, or the idea was taken?
Actually, because the name could not be trademarked because it was two common words put together that, use a different example, I guess a bigger example. So the University of Ohio, a couple of years ago, they tried to brand or trademark the U. The U.S. patent attorney said, no, you can't brand the U. It's too common of a phrase.
Wow. How often does that happen?
It happens. You definitely want to come up with a unique font, or you want to come up with a unique set of characters, words, connected, however you do it, to make it where it is trademarkable and identifiable.
And your team can do that? You have people on your team that goes out and looks that stuff up?
I have people I can use to do that kind of stuff. Again, use independent contractors that specialize in that kind of area, like a patent attorney.
Okay. I have a lot more questions. The next one I want to talk to you about is one of the services you offer is also presentations and guest speaking.
Right.
Do you have some of that stuff coming up? B, what does that mean? What does that look like for a client?
Right. So going back into my days of education and being in front of people and doing lectures, right, I don't mind getting up in front of the audience and doing presentations. So I've done presentations before. I don't have any currently scheduled or currently coming up, but if it's usually not a client that I do the presentations for, it's usually more an incubator space where they have a lot of small businesses and they offer me as a add-on to their monthly fee. Hey, come in and listen to him talk about business plans and why they're important.
So that'd be a generic type of thing, right? Not company specific.
It could. I mean, yes, I could do a company specific one, but that's typically not what I get scheduled to do. There's a lot of places out there. They're called incubators, places where small businesses go and start and get a lot of help.
Yeah.
They sometimes will bring me in, and again, they're trying to help a client grow or a business grow to move out of their space. They get to a point where they can move out, and then the next incubator company can move in. And if part of the growth pattern is to help them get funding, they might say, you need a business plan to do the funding. This guy's going to be doing a presentation on why you should have a business plan. Come listen to him.
Oh, I see. There were some other terms that you laid out on your website. Can you maybe give me brief little descriptions of like guerrilla marketing?
Oh, yep. So guerrilla marketing is non-traditional marketing methods that reach an audience. So I'll use an example of what used to be guerrilla marketing, but now it's not. So, and I don't know who the first bank was, but the first bank that ever came up with the idea of putting their name on a pen.
Yeah.
So then when you go in and wrote out your deposit slip and then you put the pen in your pocket, then the pen turns out at the office or at the house or that. Back in the day, that was guerrilla marketing because, again, it was unique. It was out there. Not other people were doing it. Now, pretty much every bank you walk into has a, pen with their name on it. So, but it started out as guerrilla marketing.
I see. Dude, I'm old enough to know when banks used to give out toasters. S&H green stamps, all of that stuff. Holy Toledo. So, are you saying guerrilla marketing is not as popular? Is it kind of like waned, or?
No. So it's just non-traditional. So, I'll use a big company as an example. That this was a marketing campaign they did. So Shark Week. I'm sure you're familiar with Shark Week.
Absolutely.
So what Shark Week did, and I don't remember what channel they're on, like USA or whoever they're on, but what they did was they actually made props of fake surfboards, but they looked like surfboards with a big bite out of it, like a shark had attacked it.
Yeah.
And they went around the world and they put it on all the most popular surfing beaches. So that way, the next morning when the surfers showed up to go out, they looked like one of their fellow people got eaten by a shark, got attacked, and the board was just laying on the beach. But then when you ran over and you picked up the board, tune in to Shark Week with the dates.
There's something very dark about that.
There is, but it was also very effective advertising, right? So,
oh man.
The downside to guerrilla marketing is it tends to be very focused. Like only people on the beach saw those.
Yeah.
It wasn't mass media.
Are there certain things that do not work in guerrilla marketing? Like, have you seen things where you're like, dude, get rid of that. That idea does not function well.
Yeah, you put me on the spot to think of one. So they're definitely out there. There's sometimes, again, through my marketing lens, I sometimes see ads and I'm like, that one missed the mark.
That happens a lot, right? You watch something, you go, oh, I don't know who. Like if let's say I'm watching YouTube or something. Now I'm almost 70, and if an ad pops up for like diapers, I'm thinking you missed your market. You may have misspent those dollars right there.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Somewhat similar, just really quick. Sometimes I see Super Bowl ads that cost $5.5 to $6.5 million.
Hang on.
I look at those and I'm like,
hang on, that's gold right there. Hang on, Sloopy. Hang on, or Joe in this case. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Mother of God, do we have a banger today? You are listening to us at 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. Those are Concord-based, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL where all the cool kids hang out. And we're talking all things marketing with Joe Walker. We will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where it's you and me and Julio down by the schoolyard. That makes me your Paul Simon-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, got my Nehru jacket on. Later on, I might take a nap on my waterbed, but that's my own business. 1450 AM, 103.9 on your transistor radios in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. And let me park just for a second there. If you go out to NHTalkRadio.com, you can find archives of this, what should be an award-winning show, and all the other shows that take place here at WKXL. But there's also a button where you can listen to our programming here live. Just click it, and you can listen to it live. This show comes to you every Wednesday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Happy to do it. I am talking right now with Joe Walker, and we are talking all things marketing. Joe, before we go too far and I forget, please give us your contact information again.
Yep, so Joe Walker Marketing Services, email info@joewalkermarketing.com, phone 603-731-0693, And the website, which sounds like you found because you've referenced it several times, it's joewalkermarketing.com.
Thank you, sir. All right, on with the questions. Joe, you were bringing up the Super Bowl. Now, why did you bring that up as a test case for things that might not work? Was that correct?
Right. So demographics and figuring out target market and best place to spend ad dollars, right? Everybody wants to be on the Super Bowl. But there was a Super Bowl ad. This was back in 1998. It was a Tabasco sauce company. I'm not going to name them. But there was a Tabasco sauce. I thought it was the very best commercial of the entire Super Bowl. I still think it was one of the best ones ever. But from a dollar spend, ad spend, you're spending $5.5 to $6 million to put that on the Super Bowl. How many bottles of Tabasco sauce do you need to sell before you hit your break-even point? Is that really the best spend?
More than 2, I guess.
Right, and then you look at shelf life of Tabasco. Somebody buys Tabasco, it probably takes them a good couple months to go through it at the house. A restaurant, they're not making purchase decisions based on a Super Bowl ad. They already have their supply chain set up. So, again, a good ad, very funny ad, but did it really get the ROI that you were expecting?
Whoo, boy, that raises some other questions, like could they just be using it for a write-off and all this stuff?
Right.
Man, oh, man. Joe, one of the things that you highlight on your website, and this is intriguing, you have a phrase, marketing during a down economy, what most people get wrong.
Yep.
You want to jump into that?
Sure. The best time to do marketing, or when you should be doing the marketing, is during the downtime because most companies pull back their marketing dollars, which means that if you're actually spending money, you're the one that people are hearing because you're actually still out there and your competitors aren't. Because, again, usually the first place people pull back is on their advertising or their marketing budget. So then when the economy does come back, you're already top of mind because they've been hearing your message all the way through. You don't need to ramp it back up again.
So I'm going to guess that would be a bean counter problem, right? That they're the folks who would come to you and say, oh, things are bad. We got to pull back here somewhere. Maybe you should rein in your marketing. Is that true? Would that be a safe statement?
Usually that's who's saying it, yep.
Someone needs to grab those people. So, I mean, that's a huge mistake then. That could cost you millions of dollars. Millions.
Potentially, yeah. Because, again, if you're the only one out there on the soapbox during the downtime and they're hearing your message when you're coming out of that downtime, you're already top of mind.
Yeah, right. Are you... this kind of ties in with one of the other... items on your website where you have, should I pump the brakes on marketing? Can you elaborate on that? I mean, they seem to tie together.
Yeah, so one of the things I hear a lot from either clients or potential clients is, I'm going to cut back on my advertising because I'm too busy.
But wait, because they're too busy?
Yeah, like I find that...
is that, are they fooling themselves? Are they saying they're too popular? They're too good at marketing. What's the thought process there?
They're just saying we're booked, we're solid, we're busy, we don't need more clients. We're going to cut back our ad dollars. And at some point, you're going to start not being as busy, and then you're going to have to ramp up the ad dollars.
Yeah.
You're better off having a consistent message and putting it out rather than just shutting it off and then turning the faucet back on again when you get slow.
So that then makes me think that's why some of these big national companies, even when they're not really needing your business per se, they're still out there hammering away. Their ads are always in front of you.
Yeah, trying to stay top of mind. Yep.
Yeah. They want to be the first soda company you think of, or the first paper product company that comes to mind.
Right, or insurance company.
Yeah, 24 hours a day, right? They want to be the one that you think of first. Are there big marketing I won't say potholes, but yeah, I guess potholes that people really need to watch out for? I mean, when they come to you and they're like, I got this great idea, Joe, and you go to them, Okay, that's not a good idea. You you need to stay away from that. Stay off the juice and do this. Are there big like potholes that besides the business plan and the marketing plan, are there things which you advise them on that they really kind of need to steer clear of?
Yeah, it's everybody thinks their idea is the next best thing to sliced bread, and
Always
been there, done that, or hey, have you noticed that's already out there? Or and one of the other things too is that nobody else is doing this. Well, if nobody else is doing it, is that because it's been tried and doesn't work, or because you truly are coming up with something unique and different?
Yes. So that makes me think, trends. Do you see cyclical things happening? Are there certain businesses that you see periodically, like every couple of years, a new one is like, oh, we got this new mousetrap, and it should be a hot item, and you have to like talk them down and say, no, that's not new. That's not going to fly. Do you ever have to do that?
Sometimes, but not normally. Like I'm lucky enough that the clients or the people that get in touch with me as potential clients, they tend to not be in that lane.
So they're smart enough to understand that they may have the next mousetrap. They just need some guidance.
Right, or the mousetrap has already been proven and they've figured out a way to make it better, right? Like either economy of scale or somehow reach a different market segment. Or something that makes them unique that the sales should come.
Yeah. Do you ever get people wanting you to partner with them?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll bet you do.
Yeah. It is hard. Get a client in that's very passionate. They believe in what they're doing, and they kind of get you drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. And it's like, oh yeah, this is actually a really good idea. Like,
That has to be tough. That needs to be. I can't even imagine how you would turn them down, or maybe you jump in. I don't know. Maybe you do.
Honestly, I have jumped in a couple times.
Yeah, good. Well, that would be smart business, right? I mean, what the heck? You have a term on your website, SWOT analysis?
SWOT analysis, yep.
Yeah. What is that? What's that acronym for?
So SWOT analysis, in my business plan, it's Section 5, but in different business plans, it might be in different places. But with my clients, we always start with the SWOT analysis when we're doing a business plan, even though it's Section 5. That's one of those misperceptions that's out there is you got to write Section 2 before you write Section 3, before you write Section 4. Okay. But the SWOT analysis is strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths and weaknesses are the things that you can control. They're internal. And then the opportunities and threats are external. And it's very important for a client to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, but also what the opportunities and the threats are out there as a business owner.
Ooh, I wish we'd gotten into that earlier because I think there's a lot to mine in there. Are they strengths and weaknesses? Do they tend to really have blinders on about their weaknesses? Is that a common thing?
Yeah, so not going to name the client. So I had a client that gave me a SWOT analysis.
It's just you and me, Joe. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So strengths were all filled out. They probably had 5 to 8 good bullets in there. Opportunities and threats were all filled out. They probably had 5 to 8 good bullets in there. Weaknesses were blank. And I'm like, hey, you didn't finish the assignment. He's like, no, I finished. And I'm like, well, you don't have any weaknesses down. He's like, yep. I'm like, yep, I found one. We'll come back to that after.
Oh, Joe, it's been a ball. Please give us your contact information one more time.
Yep, phone 603-731-0693. Email is info@joewalkermarketing.com. And the website is joewalkermarketing.com.
Thank you, sir. Joe Walker has been on the phone talking about marketing. You have been listening to what should be an award-winning episode of NH Unscripted. I am your host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Car 54 Light Digs, the WKXL Studios, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Joe. We'll catch you on the next one.